Kevin Roth here of Rotogrinders, and today we're going to talk about the RG Discord. If you're not a member, you should be. It is a fantastic community and resource that Rotogrinders provides, and it's easy to join as well. All you have to do is click the Discord icon on Rotogrinders or go to rotogrinders.com/Discord. From there, you'll either sign up if you're new to RG, or if you're already a member, just click the link at the top to go to the sign-in page. Once you've logged into your RG account, you can be taken to Discord to log in there. Once you've connected those accounts, you won't have to leave the server. You can freely close out and reopen Discord without ever having to reconnect. The idea of Discord might be a little bit daunting to you, but it's actually pretty simple to navigate. Whether you're on mobile or desktop, the far left side will show you the Discord servers that you've already joined. Then next to that, you'll see the channels within that Discord. We have both free channels like Chiefs Prop Shop and our daily sport channels, and we also have premium channels like Blender's Game Theory or the Crunch Time channels. Premium members can see the difference between the free and premium channels by looking for a padlock icon next to the premium channel names. We also have a few pointers for new and experienced users alike. If you're having trouble finding a channel, make sure that you haven't collapsed the section that the channel is in. Collapsing a channel will only allow it to appear when there are unread messages in that channel. Also, we find that using the actual Discord program works better than opening it in a browser like Safari or Chrome. Lastly, if you're having trouble with one of our tools, your Rotogrinders account, or any other technical needs, you can hop in our feedback and help section of channels to get help from one of our wonderful support and moderation team members. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter @Rotogrinders or email support@rotogrinders.com. See you in Discord.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Grinders Live, the NHL edition for Thursday, March 17th. I'm your host for today, Sean PSU Fans 2 Newsham. Joining me today is Timothy Buell on this lovely St. Patrick's Day for a 10-game hockey slate. Timothy, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Sean?
Not too bad. It's 60 degrees out. We actually have nice weather for the first time in about 6 months, so doing exactly what you want to do and sitting inside for it. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
All right, everyone, we have a 10-game slate. We're going to go through each game individually. If you guys have any questions, make sure you pop in the Discord. We're going to have a giveaway today for Grinders Live this edition. You got to hit the like button on YouTube and leave a comment on the video before the game start with how many DraftKings points you think the highest scoring skater on tonight's slate will be. Whoever ends up winning that and becoming closest to that number will win a free week of Rotogrinders Premium. And then also, if you guys are out there watching NCAA March Madness, which I'm sure a lot of you are, make sure that you are checking out Scores and Odds. March Madness is going tonight. We have the first round of games checking out there. So if you go over and check out Scores and Odds, you can sit there and get some good tips for college basketball if you are familiar with college basketball or if you are not. So we've got you covered over at scoresandodds.com, your #1 place for all things sports betting. Check out Daily Experts. I know Fear the Turtles out there putting out some great bets along with some others. You have any bets going today for March Madness, Tim?
I'm going to be betting Indiana.
Okay, there we go.
That's later today.
I know for the first round of games, Houston and Iowa, I know both of them are 5 seeds and they're coming in. They're pretty decent favorites, but they're two historically really good 5 seeds. So I know typically the 5-12 matchup is a bit of an upset fest, but tonight and tomorrow, I think those could be some teams to look at as well. All right, we're going to hop into the hockey slate as we get started. First game of the night, we have Carolina Hurricanes at the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have pretty much a pick'em game here. Toronto is a slight underdog despite being at home. And Austin Matthews is going to be out tonight. This is the second of a 2-game suspension that he has for his cross-check against Rasmus Dahlin the other day. So that's a big hit for Toronto. So what do you see on the home team from Toronto with Matthews out? How does that affect what you are thinking about doing tonight, Tim?
Well, it affects quite a bit in terms of who I would be using for Toronto, and I don't think that's going to be a lot of guys. You could use the top line of Toronto because they'll be up against the top line of Carolina, and while that is a very good offensive top line, they struggle defensively and they play at a really fast pace. I think this game as a whole is tremendously good for large field GPPs. Carolina top line is the most expensive stack on the slate, and I think that they're going to be very, very low owned. And I think they make for a really good leverage play off of more expensive stacks that we'll get to later.
For sure. And then on the flip side of things with the Carolina Hurricanes, do you see anything on Carolina that might be of interest to you? Something to note for Carolina is Tony DeAngelo is possibly going to be able to suit up against Toronto. So if you are of interest of that, make sure you're taking a look as we get later on in the day. I'm sure there will be news whether he's in the lineup or not and how that would impact things.
Yeah, Toronto has a pretty good penalty kill. I don't think DeAngelo really moves the needle for me that much, whether he's in or out. For me, it's just really just Carolina 1, and that's only for GPPs because they're so expensive. But if Kallgren didn't have a shutout against the Stars last game and he gave up 3 or 4 goals, I wonder if Carolina would have higher ownership today. That's my big thing. And yes, it was great that he posted a shutout, but I mean, he was also flopping all around the crease, and none of the pucks went in the net. So had he given up 3 or 4 goals, I think we'd be talking about this game differently, and I think the industry would be treating it differently. So I think I think Carolina is a really good GPP play.
That's generally the proper recipe for a massive goaltender game, though, right? Just flopping around, having the puck hit you, and calling it a day.
Right. And this is a completely different style matchup than what he saw against Dallas. Carolina's a completely different team. They rank 5th in high danger chances. He's gonna be peppered with shots. This isn't gonna be a low impact type team like Dallas.
For sure. All right, next game, we have the Nashville Predators at the Philadelphia Flyers. Nashville comes in minus 170. Philly is currently plus 153. On the Philadelphia side of things, we have some players on the IR like Ryan Ellis and Sean Couturier. Do you like anything on the Philadelphia side of things in this one?
So I believe it's JVR, Brassard, and Atkinson are fully correlated at even strength and the power play. So I think that they make for a really decent kind of low salary punt for GPPs, not for like cash games, but James Van Riemsdyk is 2,700 on DK and he gets run on the first power play unit. Nashville is the most penalized team in the NHL, so they should get some run, on special teams. I believe it's Claude Giroux's 1,000th game, so you could play that narrative also. But I think that's just a narrative street play, not really an optimal type play.
It is, and I'm not sure how strong that narrative is.
Right. But it might be his last game. It might be his last game there too. So
there you go. I mean, to be fair, the last time we had probably the fiercest narrative there could be, and it was just a total dud.
That's right. We did dud on that, didn't we?
We did. It was not a great night for Jack Eichel last week.
No, it was not.
All right. And then on the Nashville side of things, we have one of the strongest scorers in defenseman, Roman Yossi. He has points in about, 8 straight games, a lot of those being multi-point games. So what do you see with Yossi in this matchup against Philadelphia?
It's a great special team spot. Philadelphia has one of the worst kills in hockey. The only issue is he's 8,200. So he's not 7,400 that we'd like to pay for him. For raw points, yeah, he's a great play. But it really kind of depends on what you're doing with the rest of your lineup. Do you want to prioritize Draisaitl, Ovechkin, McDavid, or do you want to prioritize Yossi? So I think for me, Yossi falls at the bottom of that power rank of those 4 skaters, for example. If you're gonna play Yossi, I would probably pair him with somebody else on the power play, like Matt Duchene. The issue with this Nashville team right now is what you're gonna see quite a bit going forward is minutes. They don't play a lot of minutes. They're playing 16, 17 minutes a night, and for top line forwards that are getting first power play, we want to see like 19 to 21. So they fall a little bit short of that. So it's Josie and Duchene for me.
Yeah, and especially when we're talking about those minutes, when you look at a team like Edmonton, I'm sure we'll be talking about heavily later, you see guys like McDavid playing 22, 25 minutes per game. So if you're only getting 17 minutes, even if the matchup is favorable, you're seeing, let's say, 25% less ice time, which just is going to cause less production in those minutes. All right, next game, we have the Dallas Stars versus the Montreal Canadiens. Dallas comes in again as a big road favorite. We actually have quite a few road favorites today, decent sized road favorites as well. They come in currently at like -167. Montreal is +150 in this matchup. So we'll start with Dallas with Heiskanen on the IR. Do you see any impact that gives to other people like Klingberg? And what do you think of the Stars in this game?
It does not make me like Klingberg. It's, like we've talked about before, it's not like basketball where the usage just has to go somewhere else. But just overall, Dallas 1 is going to be the chalk of the night. And it's going to be up to you, however you feel, as it's your bankroll, it's your money. Do you want to be overweight or underweight on Dallas? Because this is going to be a highly, highly, pivotal spot. Right now, I think that I probably would be overweight on Dallas 1. It's just such a good spot, such a good power play spot. Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson are just, it's just the issue. The only issue is ownership. That's the bottom line. It's a 10-game slate. It's hockey. A lot of different things can happen, but this is definitely the best spot on the board. They're not very expensive, or they're at least affordable. They're going to play, good enough minutes. And I think Dallas 1 makes up for something like 45% of the team's total goals, which is ridiculous. It's a smash spot. The only issue is going to be ownership.
On the other side of the ice, we have the Montreal Canadiens. Ben Sherratt was recently traded. And then we have Jake Anderson will not play in this game, or Josh Anderson, I'm sorry, will not play in this game. It's his second game where he will miss in a row. Do you like anything on the Montreal side of things? I know they are a big underdog here. However, pricing is pretty favorable to them. They do have some cheap options.
I know that if I was making multiple teams tonight, I would be having some Jake Allen at 6,700. Like we've talked about, it's hockey. It could happen, and he will be extremely low owned. Yes, he could give up 5 goals, but that's one way you can look at it. And then there's guys on the blue line that should play more minutes too because of that trade. I think Joel Edmondson is still min priced. Kulak is min priced. Romanoff is 2,800. And these are all guys that are going to play probably around 20 minutes who are either min price or close to min price. And I think that they are, they're good solid plays.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much to just pick up a secondary assist out there. And if you get one at 2,500, it can really pay off.
Secondary assist, maybe the 3 block bonus, and that's good.
Yep, that's
Cole Caulfield, I think, is okay, but this is not a great spot.
For sure. All right, next game, we got the New York Islanders at the New York Rangers. Pretty even-ish matchup here. Rangers are a slight favorite at -138 at the moment. So we'll start with the home team with the Rangers. We do see some heavy price tags here with Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Adam Fox, and Panarin. Is there anyone that you like on the Rangers that stands out at all to
you? The Rangers line 1 is priced through the roof, and this is just not a really good spot. I think people that know a lot about hockey know that the Islanders defense is overrated, but still, this is still too expensive. So I'm not going to have really any piece of that top line. The other thing that I think we should note is if Frank Vetrano is going to be in the lineup tonight for the Rangers and where he slots in, because he's min price. So he might be worth a min price punt if you're looking for like a stars and scrub type build on your teams. This game minus Igor Shesterkin is going to be a stay away from me. I don't have much interest in the Rangers or the Islanders.
Understandable. And that just talks about the Islanders as well for us. There's not much that you like on that side as well. Although pricing is a bit more favorable in terms of people aren't through the roof. However, again, not a great matchup at all.
This is a 10-game slate. I wouldn't get carried away with going into Igor on a 10-game slate. Like, yeah, maybe you get a goal or two, but I just don't think that you're going to have a ceiling performance out of any of these guys, and you're going to need that on such a big slate.
For sure. All right, next game, we got the Washington Capitals minus 198 at the Columbus Blue Jackets at plus 177. So we have what seemingly will be a really strong matchup for that of Alexander Ovechkin and the rest of the Washington Capitals. Outside of Ovechkin, you see some relatively cheap price points. Is there anyone you like on the Capitals, including and outside of Ovechkin?
Well, just like we talked about before, it's the minutes for Ovi are trending way down. I mean, he's down well below 20. I think he's played like around 17 or 18 minutes the last 3 or 4 games. And that makes me nervous in what would otherwise be a just unbelievable matchup. The Blue Jackets allow the most shots on goal than any other team in hockey. They played in Canada last night and then have to travel back to Columbus for this one. I mean, this is a tremendous spot for the Capitals. I would, again, it's what do you want to do with McDavid, Draisaitl? Do you want to be overweight on those guys, or do you want to take a stand and say, I'm going to throw away those 22 minutes for McDavid, Draisaitl. I'm going to one-off Ovi or play a little power play stack with Ovi in it, because you can't play all of them. It's a really good matchup. I did bet his over shot prop 4.5. I'm hoping that he at least puts some shots on the net, but it's tough. It's a tough spot.
And he has in the last 3 games averaged 7 shots per game. So it's definitely something that he can be producing here. And then back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, guys. We are having a giveaway tonight for Grinderslive. If you go and hit the like button on YouTube and then leave a comment stating who will have the most DraftKings points as a skater tonight in the comments section, the winner of that will receive a free week of Rotogrinders Premium combo package. So make sure you go and check the YouTube out and leave that comment if you want a chance to win for tonight. All right, on the other side of the ice with the Columbus Blue Jackets, we have a pretty big underdog here. Not tons that I'm seeing that make sense with guys like Werenski and Laine priced up with the other options tonight. Do you see anything differently at this team?
Jack Roslovic had a really, really good game last night. He's incredibly cheap again tonight. The issue that I have that we didn't have last night is that the center position is so loaded tonight. So you'd have to waste a center spot on Roslovic, which is going to be a tough sell. If you really want to play a Blue Jacket, you could go Oliver Bjorkstrand. He has a tremendously good shot floor. One thing I also want to say about Washington is that Washington's second line is tremendously cheap, and 2 out of 3 of them play on the top power play unit with Ovi. So that's a good way to get cheaper exposure to Ovi.
For sure. All right, next game, we got the Pittsburgh Penguins versus St. Louis Blues. Penguins are a slight favorite at minus 121 on the road here. We'll start with the Penguins in this game. Again, we're going to talk about people that are priced up relatively high with Crosby, Letang, Gunsel, and Brian Rust. Do you see anyone on Pittsburgh you want, or is this another situation where it's just you have to pick your spots and whether or not you get the ownership is what really matters?
Yeah, I don't see myself having really any exposure to this game. If Bennington were in net, because he's just been so bad, I would be more apt to maybe throw in a top stack of Pittsburgh and hope they just blow the doors off him. But with Huso in net, it's a completely different story. He's a much better goaltender than Binnington. So I just don't see any reason to get to Pittsburgh tonight.
And then on the other side of the ice, we got the Blues. Robert Thomas will not play tonight. He is out for the Blues. Does that impact the game at all, in your opinion?
That doesn't really change much for me. I think that David Perron makes for a pretty decent one-off. The Penguins have done a pretty good job keeping the puck out of their own net. So this is a slate we talk about all the time. The bigger the slate is, the more of a ceiling you're going to need. And this is a spot where I'm not seeing multiple goals being scored by these top six lines. And that's what you're going to need if you're going to be paying these types of prices. St. Louis is pretty affordable, but I don't think they have the ceiling to make much of a difference.
And when you're looking for ceiling, you're realistically looking for a team that can put up, let's say, 5 or 6 goals in that game, right?
I mean, if you're playing like a 150 max or 20 max, definitely.
Yeah.
Normally I play like single entry stuff, but even then you need 3 or 4 goals if you want to, finish in the top 5 of any of those contests.
For sure. All right, next game, we have the undisputed best in the league, Buffalo Sabres, clearly mistaken as the biggest underdog on the slate at the Edmonton Oilers. So we will start with the Oilers. I believe that you are going to tell me that Connor McDavid is a very good play tonight. Is there anyone else you'd like to say that about on the Oilers as well?
Yeah, it's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl for me. Those are just the minutes that they play are so they're so secure. And the other thing is that the Oilers can't blow a team out because they give up so many other goals on the other end. So that keeps McDavid and Draisaitl out there producing offensively, which gives us more fantasy points. It's not like, watch that game with them against Detroit. They're up 5-0. Then all of a sudden it was 5-5. I mean, they can't shut teams down. So they have to stay out there. They have to keep producing offensively, which means just more points for us. Zach Hyman is a great play. I believe he's going to be skating with Draisaitl tonight. He's 5,200. He's a really good add to your stack. But I think the other side of this game is kind of interesting too, because like I said, the Oilers, they can't stop bleeding goals. So I think that top line for the Buffalo Sabres is pretty interesting with Thompson, Tuck, and Skinner. I think they make for actually a pretty interesting contrarian line stack.
And Evander Kane has clearly come a long way from the 2,500 that we saw him start the year at. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, and I think they say how like Hyman's on power play too, but I think they're going to rotate that spot, so he should see some time on power play 1. So it's Kane, Hyman. I wouldn't play Tyson Barrie. I think he's dust, even though he's only like 4,500. But I think I can't go there with him.
For sure. And like you talked about, yeah, so Buffalo is the biggest underdog on the slate by a pretty significant margin. However, this game has 6.68-ish goals that are expected. Buffalo's team total is almost 2.7. So they are expected to score goals in this game. And I'm pretty sure you could look at this entire Buffalo roster. And again, you said they're a little bit more expensive. They're not in the 35 to 5 or 34 to 4K range, but they have a really good shot at putting up a lot of goals at probably 1 or 2% owned in a lot of contests. So I think it's a really favorable GPP spot. Not being a homer or anything. I mean, clearly they're the best team in the league. So
I think you could even go to Buffalo too. I mean, it really depends on how many teams you're making, but I would definitely filter through some Sabres because Edmonton's going to give up goals in this game.
Definitely. All right, next game we have the San Jose Sharks versus the Los Angeles Kings. San Jose is plus 132 compared to that of LA at minus 146 in this game, which when you look at the LA lineup and just in general, their players on DraftKings, every other player's on the IR. It seems like they just have a pile of guys on the IR. So we'll start with the Kings. With everyone on the IR, what do you see from them tonight? Because they are a decent sized favorite.
Yeah, and there, this is going to be a very, very popular kind of filler spot, whether it be LA1 or LA2. And I can't really argue with that. I mean, this is a pretty good. Well, they're so cheap and in such a good spot that they're tough to get away from for value. Kellyev and Trevor Moore skate together on the second line, and I think they come in at 6,600 total. I think that's going to be a pretty popular two-man, and I think it's a good one. And that's the type of two-man that I would like to go with my more expensive stacks of the Oilers or the Stars.
For sure. All right, next game we have the Detroit Red Wings at Vancouver Canucks in one of the late games of the slate. Elias Pettersson is considered day-to-day. I believe he will not be playing tonight, but you'll have to make sure you stay up on that later. The coach has said that it is likely not a long-term thing, is what his quote says, but I don't think he's going to be eligible tonight. So with him being out, how do you think that impacts Vancouver, and who do you like on the Canucks?
This is going to be a power play matchup for me type game. I only, these are the two worst penalty kills in hockey going up against each other. So, if I play anyone from either one of these teams, it's going to be guys that are on the first power play unit. I believe Oliver Ekman-Larsson will be taking Pettersson's spot on the first power play. I actually prefer him to Quinn Hughes. I'm not a huge Quinn Hughes guy. And Larson's $1,400 cheaper too on DK. So it's probably Horvat and Besser for me. But I mean, JT Miller has been on fire lately, just absolutely on fire. But his price reflects that. He's at 6,900. So, I mean, that's a lot more than we're used to spending for him. So I think I might go down to like a Horvat, Besser, Larson. I mean, that's pretty affordable power play one stack.
Definitely. I feel like JT Miller's a guy that historically will like have these random spikes where he just goes nuts, and then like he'll go back to his 1 to 2 shots a game, and
then he disappears, and you feel like a fool paying that premium price for. He's not basically I'm just repeating what you said, but he's not a guy that I want to buy high on. I never want to do that with him.
For sure. All right, and then on the other side with Detroit Red Wings, anyone you like at all with Red Wings tonight?
Basically, it's just Larkin, Raymond, and Cedar. That would be the only 3 guys that I would play from this, and I think that's a stretch. That's just, all you're doing is kind of getting some exposure to the late night hammer. I mean, Dylan Larkin 5,700, pretty cheap, but again, got to give up a center spot, and I think that's a tough sell tonight.
For sure. All right, last game of the night, we have the Florida Panthers at the Vegas Golden Knights. We talked about the LA Kings being banged up. Vegas might be even more so banged up. Beforehand, as we've been on the show, I guess DeBoer came out and said that there is basically said, I don't know if Pacioretty or Smith are day-to-day or week-to-week, but they're not on my radar tonight. So Pacioretty will be out tonight. Riley Smith will be out tonight, along with what feels like everyone else on their team. So do you like anyone on Vegas at all in this game, despite being a plus 152 favorite?
Vegas isn't really on my radar tonight. Dadonov, Isman, Price, he gets run on the first power play. He is a volume shooter, but I think that's not the best play. It would be, I mean, that I love Jack Eichel, so I mean he's 6,800. That's still too cheap for him, but this is not. I mean, Panthers are legit cup contenders. This is not. I mean, they're a really, really good team, and he's gonna have his hands full tonight. And they're so beat up that they can just focus on that one line. And I mean, I wouldn't play him other than in large field GPPs.
For sure. And then on the Florida side with Vegas banged up, do you like Barkov, Huberdeau, or anyone else?
I do in a vacuum, but they're so expensive. I mean, they're really, really, really expensive. I mean, but it's the same kind of logic as I would say about Carolina. They're so expensive, nobody's going to play them. So, I mean, that they, Florida 2 has a massive ceiling. So, I mean, Florida 1, not as good, but you could just do a Florida power play stack. They have a huge ceiling. This is the type of team that can break the slate, even though they're not going to show up on optimals because they're so expensive, but they're definitely should be part of your player pool.
And a lot of the time, being really expensive and not owned at all is the recipe for success.
Yeah.
Especially in big field GPPs.
Yep.
All right, everyone. That is going to call it for us on this 10-game slate. Just so you guys know, baseball is back. So MLB is back, and Rotogrinders is currently celebrating the return of baseball with a huge discount to our premium MLB season pass. You can get the full season for $250, which is regularly priced at $340. So if you are interested in the upcoming baseball season, make sure you take advantage of this deal while you can. You can look at the link in the description right after you post your comment for who's going to have the highest DraftKings score in the night. All right, Tim, is there anything else that you see or you want to add before we call it a show here today?
I'm just going to give 4 goalies real quick.
I love it.
All right, Bobrovsky, Shesterkin, Ottinger, and Anderson. Those are my 4 favorite.
Explain why you like them tonight, Tim. Do you see big save performances out of any of them?
Well, I think Shesterkin is the best goalie in hockey. It doesn't get a huge, great volume matchup, but he's under 8K, and I think they win the game. So even if I think that's a great same thing with Bobrovsky. Again, under 8K. See, I never want to pay up for goalies. So if I can get the guys under 8K who I think are going to win, I'll take the 27 saves and the 2 goals and the win. That's fine for me. And Anderson, I mean, I think Carolina's going to roll tonight against the Maple Leafs. So you give me Freddie Anderson and revenge spot 7,400. Yes, please. I mean, he is going to see shot volume against this Leafs team, even without Matthews. So I think Anderson is a tremendous GPP play. And then Ottinger, he's kind of like your, I want the win, I want safety, maybe your cash game or optimal type goalie. I also like Soros quite a bit too for that same reason, and he's a little bit cheaper than Ottinger. So maybe I would take Soros over Ottinger actually.
There you go, everyone. There's some goaltender love for you guys tonight. All right, everyone. We will be back next Tuesday with another show for NHL. In the meantime, good luck to everyone. Hope you guys pull out some winners. For Tim, I am Sean. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you next week.